Hey YouTube, this is Wrestling News and Park Fan 62. Now, if you've watched Raw recently, you would notice Alexa Bliss has been acting strange at times, especially when Bray Wyatt's symbol appears. So, in this video, I want to talk about her past with Bray Wyatt, otherwise known as the Fiend, and or the Fiend at the time, and talk about what I think could possibly come. Now, Alexa is a face. She came back as a face, I believe, on the SmackDown after Thanksgiving in 2019. I will put the date for that down below. But sorry, and to fight off Fire and Desire, which was Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville at the time. So fast forward, you get through TLC and the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber. Everything is fine and dandy. Um, you get into March. Um, so this is right around the time the pandemic started. Um, so Alexa and Nikki Cross challenged the Kabuki Warriors, which was Asuka and Kairi Sane, for a tag title match at WrestleMania. This is when they first started doing night one. They were the first match on the card um, for WrestleMania 37. Um, now, okay, now you skip to July of 2020. This is on the July 31st edition of SmackDown. Um, her friend at the time, Nikki Cross, was having a tag or a title match for the SmackDown Women's title versus Bayley. So Bayley won, and Alexa tried to comfort Nikki, but Nikki got so mad she pushed her down, and then the lights started to go off. When the lights came back on, they were red, and you hear that sound. Now, obviously, I can't play that sound. One, because it's probably copyrighted, and two, I don't have the technology to do that. But um, so Bray was kind of teasing her, and so finally at the end he did the uh, where he stuck his hand in her mouth, mandible claw, and that's what possessed Alexa. Now, this is a couple of weeks before they went to the Thunderdome. So they went to the Thunderdome on the starting the SmackDown before um, that SummerSlam. So in there, you start to notice Alexa change. Not much, but not a whole lot at the time. Um, so after SummerSlam, you get to the September 26th edition of SmackDown. Um, this is when Alexa really starts to change more and more. Coming up to then, every time somebody would mention the word Bray Wyatt or the Fiend, Alexa would go into this trance, and so she would just randomly walk, not knowing where she's going. She would just randomly walk. So On the September 26th edition of SmackDown, Alexa was having a match versus Lacey Evans. During that match, the Fiend made his presence known, which was basically you would hear the words "Let me in," and the lights would turn red for a second. Um, Later in that match, basically the Fiend possessed Alexa, and Lacey Evans won by disqualification. So, about a week or two later, the Fiend and Alexa reunite on SmackDown. And so this is when Alexa was fully into the character. And so then, not long after, they had the draft, and both the Fiend and Alexa got drafted to Raw. And they basically started, I wouldn't say causing havoc, but started slowly doing that. So now you get to TLC 2020. The Fiend and Randy Orton at the time was having a feud. And the Fiend challenged Randy Orton to a Firefly Funhouse Inferno match. Um, so Randy Orton won by setting Bray Wyatt on fire. And basically, in the ring, it showed Bray Wyatt burning. It really wasn't, but for a fact. So, this is when you start to see the change in Alexa even more. So, she started acting darker. Um, so, at the time, too, she was sort of having this feud with Randy Orton himself, as I guess the Fiend possessed her. So you get to that. So there's a segment where Randy Orton went to the ring to talk. Alexa came out and hid behind her back was not exactly a flamethrower, but it was like one of those like instant spark type things. So you get to, I think it's Battleground or one of those pay per views before WrestleMania, 2021. This is when they're still in the Thunderdome. So this is when you had. So this is when Bray fully showed the burnt version of the Fiend, and it's funny to hear the commentators in it because it's like, what is that? And then once the Fiend comes out of the ring, it's like he's hideous. So Alexa won that. Now you start building toward WrestleMania, which was the first WrestleMania back since um, 2019 at the time. So this is when basically it was Alexa and Alexa and the Fiend versus Randy Orton. So WrestleMania came around, and the Fiend had the first match on the card on night two, and Alexa betrayed him. Her, yeah, him. So this is where it gets interesting because after that, basically, Alexa became the female version of the Fiend almost. Um, so one thing I forgot to mention was at the Royal Rumble 2021, Alexa started to do her transformation because she would basically she was doing this thing at the time where she would come out all happy and giddy, and then the lights would do the whole fiend stuff, and then she would turn into a totally different person. So after WrestleMania, um, so at the time it was WrestleMania 38 or 37. Um, you got introduced to Lily, Alexa's doll, and so throughout the whole year, you were it was Alexa and Lily versus somebody else. So it was like Alexa and Lily versus Eva Marie versus Shayna Baszler, etc., etc., etc. So now we get into 2022. So actually, no, I take that back for 1 second. Um, at Extreme Rules 2021, um, Alexa had a match versus Charlotte Flair, which Charlotte won. And then Charlotte basically ripped Lily in half and caused the whole scene from there. So Alexa went away for a while. So then earlier this year, they started showing vignettes of Alexa going through therapy. And so basically, it was in May at this point. Basically, the therapist said, "You're cured. Um, just have Lily with you." So since then, Alexa has been stuck into this character where it's like she's not exactly like she was with the Fiend, but she wasn't like the goddess or anything. So come Extreme Rules 2022 in October, Bray Wyatt returned. And then after that, this is when everything started to come together. So occasionally, it was basically Alexa, Bianca, and Asuka versus Damage Control, which has been going on since SummerSlam. Occasionally, you would start seeing Bray Wyatt's symbol behind, like behind Alexa in some way. So, for example, at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, it was on a TV behind her during a backstage promo. Um, Yesterday on Raw, it was on the Tron. It was stuff like that. Now, speaking of Raw last night, Alexa was there physically, but she wasn't there mentally. Um, so Asuka and Bianca was bragging about beating Damage Control at Survivor Series War Games, which I just did a review on. And so the commentator asked, "What do you think?" Alexa's like, "Oh yeah, Asuka's the best choice." When they're like, "What?" But you can tell like Alexa was either looking at the floor, at Bianca's title, whatever. So now, where does this lead? Okay, this is going to lead to one of two things. First one is Alexa getting possessed by either Uncle Howdy, I guess Bray Wyatt's alter ego, or something. There's still, we still really don't know what who exactly Uncle Howdy is in this picture. So either Alexa gets possessed by Uncle Howdy and reunites with Bray Wyatt again, or Alexa turns heel and does her own thing. So I'm gonna go over both and say what I think could possibly happen. First, with Alexa turning heel, I highly think that is possible. One, for her character, because right now I like her character, don't get me wrong, but the main issue with it is this. You don't really know what it is. Because it's not like when she was with the Fiend, where she can get away with it. But, like, because she wears this, she almost wears something similar to the dresses she wore um, when she was with Bray Wyatt. But, not quite. Now, getting possessed is also highly likely now because with damage control out of the way, I think they're going to start getting her ready to either turn heel, get possessed, something. And I think over probably the course of the next month or two, we will start to see that more and more by week because the next premium live event is not till the Rumble in late January. So I do think we're going to start seeing that more and more going to them.